Hey, what's up, Steelers Nation? I'm Tyler Feldman. No, I do not cut Mike Tomlin's lawn. Stop asking me already. Get off my lawn.
And I'm Ben Bobick. Season's about to start to get real here for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And I'm Gandy, former offensive lineman for the Steelers. Forget the lawn. They fixed the field.
And I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast. You're watching the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Let's get into it.
Wave those terrible towels. It's the Steelers Squad. Everything Pittsburgh Steelers every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Steel City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the steel curtain to the next generation, the Steelers Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. This is the Steelers Squad Show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, I'm your host, Tyler Feldman. On tonight's show, we're talking Packers, Steelers, Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers going up against his old team in front of a national audience. The Steelers' 1933 throwbacks. Possible trade talks. Did the defense get better? Wayne's World predictions too. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday. Great to see all of your smiling faces. The Steelers, will they be smiling come Sunday night? Chris, at practice, at media availabilities this week, what is your sense around the team as they get set to take on a very talented Green Bay squad?
There's a sense of they got a lot to fix. I think there's an itching to fix things, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They know that they did not play the way that they wanted to play against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. They know they missed an opportunity to win last week, and that's where I think that this team's focus has been. They want to be sharper. They want to come on. They know that they don't get a break this week. They're playing the number 7 offense in the NFL, the number 10 defense in the NFL. This is a really balanced Green Bay Packers team that is a Super Bowl favorite. They were my picks to be in the Super Bowl for the NFC. So I think that they're sort of locked and ready to go to try to make sure that they clean up a lot of things that they did wrong last week. Will they? That remains to be seen. But this is a long week. They're coming off a Thursday Night Football loss. They're getting to be at home. They're playing a Packers team that's coming in off confident off their win. I think the one interesting thing that's going to be fortunate for them is that whereas Michael Parsons is never anyone's fortune to have to play, they're familiar with playing teams like him. Like they just played Myles Garrett and the Browns and how they try to feature him and move him around. They know that Aaron Rodgers talked about earlier today about how he's used to playing guys like that. Not only Myles Garrett, but he said just playing TJ Watt last year, the game plan of you always got to have 4 hands on a guy that talented. I think the Steelers are locked in on what they need to do. The question will be in the game, who sets the tone first, and then who's able to dictate the pace of play, because I think that's what happened. The Steelers set that tone early against the Bengals, but then you saw some of those 3rd and long conversions. You saw those turnovers. The Packers have not been a team that have forced turnovers a lot this year. In fact, they're 30th in turnovers created on defense. The Steelers are 8th in protecting the football. That's where I think a lot of this is going to be played. The Packers don't give up explosive plays, but you can dink and dunk them. If the Steelers can get that going on offense and they can just keep the Packers contained on defense, that's where I think that their ticket to winning this game is.
The Packers just 7-9 in Pittsburgh in this series, looking for their first win in the city of Pittsburgh since 1970. Super Bowl 45 rematch, 2011 in Arlington, Texas. It was Aaron Rodgers and the Packers taking down the Steelers 31-25. Wayne, as we look ahead to this matchup, Aaron Rodgers against his former team, that's pretty cool. Aaron says he's not really motivated to have it be a game where animosity. He says, I wish things would have been better in our last year there, but I have a great relationship still with a lot of the people in that organization. This is not a revenge game for me. I'm just excited to see some of those guys and be on Sunday Night Football again. Do you buy Aaron and what he's saying there, that this is not a revenge game, although he didn't really leave Green Bay in the cleanest of fashions? But I tend to lean and really hear what Aaron's saying there. What say you?
I completely buy it. I'm buying it 100, 1,000%. Typically, a revenge game is the next year. First of all, it's the next year when your team that lets you go is on the calendar. How do you have animosity for a team that drafted you first round, let you sit behind a legend for 3 years, put you out in the starting. 18 years? How am I mad? I'm lucky to still be here. In 18 years, they never traded me, never cut me. They kept me at the top of the pay scale. Sure, you're hoping to retire with the same team. We all, but how long are you going to stay? I mean, that's really how the team walks in there. And they were not wrong for getting Jordan Love. They used that same format. I'm going to get a guy when I think you're about 2-3 years away from even coming in my office, knocking on the door and saying, I'm done. This is kind of bonus football for Aaron Rodgers. And now we're, 3 years removed from that exit. So I'm completely buying it. And that takes the pressure off of him and lets him be a Steeler and play football in a situation where you really feel like the Steelers have to come out and show a tremendous amount of correct approach to this game and try to get a victory. You are the underdog, but you are at home.
Steelers are 3.5-point dogs right now. Third game in NFL history in which a quarterback who spent at least 15 years with one team faced that team as the opposing starting quarterback. Ben, when you look at this matchup, do we see Aaron Rodgers going off against his former team? And will that be enough for the Steelers to win this football game?
Stating the obvious here, he wants to win the game, and there's a little added juice to it. I think what Wayne was touching on it too. I don't think it's a lot different than the first week of the season when they were playing the Jets. That had more of that revenge feel of, hey, this team didn't want me, let's go and beat them. But still at the same time, hey man, this is the first time he's playing the Green Bay Packers. And however you need to motivate yourself, you're going to motivate yourself. And Aaron Rodgers 100% wants to win this football game. And you got to hope the team, obviously they're focused on business, they're professionals. They want to win every single football game. It's one game at a time, bippity boo, bippity bop. But you want to think they want to win this game for Aaron Rodgers, man. This is his former team. It's the first time they're he's playing them. You want to see this guy go out there and beat his former team. This may be his only chance he ever gets to play the Packers in his career, and it's good for his own personal stats if you think about it that way. But listen, when you look at it as a whole for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a big stretch here for them when you think about the Packers coming up, the Colts, and then the Chargers. We're going to find out a lot about this football team, and you think about it in little increments here. Obviously we could think about it. They're only thinking about it one game at a time. But when we look at this thing with three teams ahead, these next 3 games, man, it's going to be tough to win any of them, let alone 2 of them, 3 of them, 1 of them. But you always want to win that first one, that one this Sunday. You get the home game on Sunday Night Football. You get the home crowd going. I'm expecting a full-on Steelers crowd, which is going to be awesome. Anytime you're in prime time on the North Shore is a big deal. But they definitely for Aaron Rodgers. But I do buy it in the sense of that I don't think there's any animosity there. But Aaron Rodgers still wants to beat the Green Bay Packers. Leave no doubt about it.
The Steelers will either be bippity-booing the next 3 weeks or bippity-bopping the next 3 weeks. And that's what I'm really looking forward to the most. Chris, what was your sense from Aaron Rodgers this week at practice when talking about facing a team that he led win a Super Bowl, MVP, all those Pro Bowls, all those records? How do you feel about Aaron this week facing the Packers?
I feel like Aaron Rodgers kind of expressed that there's a bit of understanding that I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. That was the phrase that he used when we talked to him. And I got the sense that he was kind of he didn't even admit it. He had issues with the front office with going and getting Jordan Love. But as Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers will tell you on tomorrow's Crossover Thursday episode for Locked On Steelers, check that out, by the way. He'll tell you that Aaron Rodgers never did anything wrong to Jordan Love. When Jordan Love came in, he treated him with respect. He was the mentor quarterback for Jordan Love that Brett Favre wasn't to him. And so I think Aaron Rodgers had that initial spike, but like you said, he understands. And I think he also sees, imagine your career, you were started on one of those more storied franchises where you won 4 MVPs, you won a Super Bowl, almost every year you were a competitor in the NFL. Everyone feared you. And then you went to a disaster where you missed an entire season, and then you won 5 games your second season, and everyone thought you were old and washed. And now you're back in another crown jewel franchise of the NFL where people are saying, oh man, we got to respect that guy. He's back. And now it's back. And so I think Aaron Rodgers has more so had the opportunity to say, hey man, I kind of get it. Business, life is life, business is business, and I didn't get treated so badly there. You're absolutely, I think it was Ben that said it. You're absolutely right. The Jets game was a revenge game because they dissed him the way that they sent him out of town. There was a lot of bad blood there. But I think with the Packers, it's like he even brought up, he doesn't even know most of the guys on the Packers anymore. Like most of the guys from the drafts that were around him they're all gone. All the teammates that he used to want to bring with him, they've retired or they've left the team. And so basically it's Jordan Love, Quay Walker, and then like a few guys there, and Matt LaFleur. That's it. And so I think that's the thing for Aaron Rodgers, that this is not as much of a revenge game as much as a nostalgia game where, to Ben's point, if he wins this game, I think he becomes the fifth quarterback to beat every team in the NFL at some point in his career. So like this is probably his only chance unless the Steelers play these guys again in the Super Bowl. So like likely get it done here. And you're doing it on prime time at home, coming off the short bye week because of the Thursday night football game. You're in a prime position to do it. I think that's where the Steelers got to get it done this time.
Speaking of the Locked On Steelers daily podcast, just to show you what you're missing. I mean, look at this. Christopher Carter on X. All that you're missing. This is on the show that aired with Mike DeFabo on Wednesday. So, little preview. I mean, dive in. You're missing a lot of good stuff. We certainly appreciate you joining the squad show here every Wednesday night. But that, again, is Monday through Friday with our man, Christopher Carter. All right. Ben Roethlisberger is probably excited, but he's not playing in this game. I'm not sure. I got Ben on my mind. I hope the quarterback plays good. Hey, Aaron Rodgers had this to say about Pat Freiermuth this week. Check this out from Nick Farabaugh. If you're not getting targets and you're a high money guy, it's got to be tough on the psyche, on the confidence, but Pat never B-word about anything. He was never making it about him. I kind of dig that. I kind of dig what Freiermuth was able to do against the Bengals. He loves playing against the Bengals. Aaron Rodgers loves throwing to his tight ends. In this tight ends room, especially with Freiermuth, Ben, I'll go to you. Love hearing that confidence in your tight end, but also love the fact that they got our Penn State guy going.
Well, first and foremost, man, that's just the class of a Penn State guy right there, Pat Freiermuth. Never going to complain about anything. Bring his pail to work and bring his lunch pail and go to work, baby. But no, I think it's awesome, and it's great to see him get going. But I think a lot of us, we're so pumped up about these tight ends. I think I want to dive into it all. I think it's just all about the sort of matchups that the team presents, that whatever skill set one of these tight ends could bring to the table that can match it. I mean, obviously, it was no secret. You saw all the stats that came out after the Bengals game of Pat Freiermuth against Cincinnati. Man, it's just, he's like Chipper Jones against the Mets when it's Pat Freiermuth against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's kind of what it looked like. But that's just the type of guy he is. He's a great locker room guy, and he is going to do everything he can to win for the team. And I think that speaks volumes to hear that from his quarterback, a future Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, to say, hey, man, like that guy doesn't talk at all. At least when he doesn't talk bad, he doesn't mope at all. He just shows up and he just works. He's all about the team, and that's the guys we have in this locker room. And I think a lot of people can feed off of that. You talk about leading by example. Pat Freiermuth leading by example, doing his job, whatever is asked of him. And when his number's called, he rose to the occasion last Thursday in a big way. And we'd love to see him get him going, because you imagine if he gets going, and the rest of the offense sort of opens up too long for the other tight ends and everybody else, because it's a good thing when all are rolling.
Freiermuth, 5 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns in last week's loss at Cincinnati. Wayne, in addition to Muth, you've got Darnell Washington had a touchdown last week. Jonnu Smith had a touchdown last week. How critical is it, and will it be, for Aaron Rodgers to continue linking up with this tight ends room against a very good Green Bay squad?
I've said it almost each and every show. First of all, let's go back to preseason. We didn't work out any of these kinks in figuring out which tight end. Very few teams have this many diverse. That's another thing about this tight end room. It's so diverse. Basically, you have 4 different styles that you got to figure out, and it's one football. It's just one football, and I think it's just been a continuation of trying to discover who goes where. Darnell Washington, big in the run game. Cam Hayward, big in the run game. Jonnu Smith, the quick screen, the quick routes, and now Pat Freiermuth, as we're seeing, playing a little 2.5 receiver. The second, right in there, that guy that maybe we can flex out and get in the rotation and think about the Bengals. They didn't have any of that on tape. They didn't know which direction the offense was going with Freiermuth on that night. And I just think that it's a very hard situation to manage, to feed so many talented guys. 3 of those 4 you really feel are starters on a couple of other teams around the league. They would be the starting tight end. And then just the versatility of Connor Hayward, to be able to do special teams and play a little fullback and those kind of things. So it's just another bright spot and another dimension. And now you have to figure out which teams to attack with that Pat Freiermuth package, in a sense. Which matchups, which teams don't have that guy to be able to cover outside. But what a great problem to have, though, to have that kind of guy looking and begging for the ball and being professional about it. That's the best part. He's not doing the A.J. Brown.
Chris, I'll ask you this, and then we'll go to break. Is this the best tight end room that Aaron Rodgers has ever had in his career? And how do they utilize that against his former team on Sunday night?
I mean, I think it's got to be, right? Like, I don't know too many tight ends that are 4 guys deep where each of them are legitimate receiving threats. I mean, Connor Hayward has shown the touchdown he had in the Browns game where you saw him just like working with that's a rarity. And so there's a respect there that I think even Aaron Rodgers has expressed himself. Darnell Washington with the way things he can do, Johnny Smith with the things he can do, and then Pat Freiermuth. And listen, I think that Pat Freiermuth is a guy who, there's a reason why they paid him the money they paid him. And it wasn't just because he was going to rack up stats. It's because he is a team first guy. And the Steelers wanted to prioritize making those guys central to the Steelers locker room. You guys are absolutely right. He doesn't complain. He doesn't moan. He fights his way through things. He never says anything bad about his teammates. And he's also that lovable guy in practice. Like, he brings the energy at all time. Like, him and Najee Harris were like a buddy cop movie whenever they were together, because it was Najee Harris would be one way. Pat Freiermuth was like the good cop, Najee Harris be the bad cop, but they were always adorable together because they were just hilarious. But Pat Freiermuth is like that all the time. Golden retriever energy. He's so excitable, and he's always doing stuff for his teammates. And that's something that I think that the Steelers said, hey, we want that in, but we also want the playmaking in. And you saw what he could do in that game. And I got to say, it's impressive to see from a guy coming from a place that doesn't have a Power 4 conference win in 8 weeks in college football. It's impressive for him to bounce back from that kind of environment in the college football realm.
All right, I hate to. Hey, Chris, I hate to cut you off here. We've got to head to break. I'm looking at the time here. Hey, still to come on tonight's show, we'll get Chris's thoughts on what moves the Steelers could make and should make to bolster both sides of the ball, even though he just said something that I'm not sure made a lot of sense to me, Ben. I'm not sure about you. Hey, plus Wayne's World.
No idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, I have no clue. We'll head over to Wayne's World, where the NFL vet will share his thoughts on those 33 throwbacks that the Steelers will be rocking here on Sunday night. That's all coming up, still to come here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. But first, the NFL season is here. Is it ever? And FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I really love how FanDuel gives me really so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or just love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, back here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show, Wednesday night. I think I got to mute Chris for just a second. We've got Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobick, and a muted Christopher Carter. I feel like I'm on Around the Horn right now. He made a comment about Penn State football that I personally didn't appreciate. It's been a trying time. It's been a trying time. But what I can say about the Nittany Lions, the field and the surface that they play on doesn't impact a professional team. And I want to make that clear. So I'm fine as long as Penn State continues to have just amazing grass to play on. They're fine in my book. Speaking of grass, can we talk about Mike Tomlin? Who's mowing his lawn? Why doesn't he know the lawnmower? If I'm Mike Tomlin, I know I've got a lot going on. I'd like to know who's cutting my grass.
This is the second straight week where I've asked Mike a question that he's popped off on, and that's kind of been like the highlight of the press conference. I didn't think he was going to get all that. I was just like, I was asking it because our editors were like, "Hey, we're still looking into," but we're still looking like they're saying we're still looking into like field stuff. Can you ask him a question? And I was like, man, I was honestly going into that question and be like, Mike's gonna read me. Because we asked him about it last week. He was like, "Why do you care? I don't know. I don't do that. Not my job. I don't control the stadium." And he's legit is right. Like that's a whole other authority that controls that stuff. And so he was just like, I don't. He's like, hey, we tell them to fix it up, they fix it up. But like that's just it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's Mike Tomlin's thing is that like Mike Tomlin is very much walking into the jobs of head coaching, of setting the game plan, setting the scheme. But like I remember one year when Mason Rudolph. The year that Ben was hurt and he got destroyed by Earl Thomas and his helmet popped off and the cart came out and then the cart like broke down and someone asked him, "Mike, why wasn't the cart working for Mason Rudolph?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I don't control the carts." But that's kind of just where that's coming from.
And that's the problem with Mike Tomlin. He doesn't have a sense of who's cutting the grass, who's maintaining the carts, and that's why I've just had enough. I'm drawing the line there. Wayne. Do you think Mike should know who's cutting his own grass? Do you know who cuts your grass, Blake?
No, they come on Friday, but I don't know who actually. I don't know the name. I know the name of the company, but not the guy. But I'm with Chris. I mean, you'd have to go to the high school level.
Yeah.
So that is something maybe the high school head coach, he's responsible because he's trying to get somebody to do it, barter it, maybe for a couple of free game tickets. He got to count the hot dogs and how many fries and all that kind of stuff. But a college professional, especially when it's not even something that your team owns or responsible for. So it's a city thing, and hopefully it is fixed for Sunday night. I would imagine it is. It's prime time. They've caught a lot of flack here in the last 2 weeks about the surface. And if Aaron Rodgers got mad at Broderick Jones for tackling in the Bengals game, just imagine if he slips down in that sand, he might run out the tunnel and push down the lawn man.
See, if I'm in Pittsburgh, I'm in a local news situation. I am immediately trying to find out who, one, is cutting Mike Tomlin's lawn, and two, the man behind Acrisure Stadium's field. Could we get some visibility here, some responsibility? Ben, you seem like a man who cuts his own lawn.
You know what? Well, actually, I'm actually technically allergic to grass. So when it gets on me, I break out in hives. So when I do have to do it, I have to bust out in like a full-on, sweatsuit in the middle of the summer if I have to. It's a whole thing.
I shouldn't be laughing. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm sorry.
He's probably
man, he must be around
some grass, and look what happened.
Grass, and he froze. Well.
At least his lights didn't go off like mine.
There we go. That's local news at its finest.
Ben, you
froze.
Really?
We didn't hear anything you said, sir.
Yeah, we got you. We missed your last
30
seconds.
Perfect, because yeah. So if I'm the local news man, I'm all over that because that's at local news at its finest. And who cuts Mike Tomlin's grass? And then you go down and you talk to the grass keepers, obviously, or the greenskeepers at the stadium, and you somehow connect it together. And that's everywhere, man. Like that's the type of stuff that people tune in for. Like, honest to God, I'm like, hey, man, I got to watch at 5:30 today because the guy who cuts Tomlin's grass, I want to see how he stripes it up. I want to make sure to see how it's going and see how he gets it done at his house so I could do it to mine. And how many people in Pittsburgh would use the same grass cutting techniques that the guy who cuts Mike Tomlin's grass on their own? Honestly.
We'll wait until one of the local stations finds
let it simmer.
Mike Tomlin's grass cutter. All right, let's talk about this Steelers-Packers game. Chris, I want to head over to you right now. The Steelers, you talked on your show earlier this week about making some moves and what they could utilize. Wide receiver seems to be a hot topic button. Calvin Austin practiced today. It seems like he will play Sunday night. Secondary is another big issue.
He gonna play.
He gonna play.
But Calvin Austin's playing. I still think they look at wide receiver like they want a wide receiver who can get open, because Adam Schefter put it out that the Steelers want a speed wide receiver. I'm sorry. DK Metcalf runs a sub 4.4. So does Roman Wilson. So does Scotty Miller. So does Calvin Austin. They got 4 guys that can run in the 4.3s. They don't need speed. They need separation. There's a difference there. And I think that's what the Steelers are truly missing on offense right now. So if they wanted that in the offense, I get it. But truly, I think that you're finding this offense as it is right now is ranked number 11 in scoring. They're figuring things out. They're putting things together. And they're starting to find themselves in the ground game. I don't think that they necessarily need that as much as this defense does need help in coverage, because I do think that they have a free safety problem. I think that Juan Thornhill's fine, but when they have to move him around, there's an issue. I think that they don't have. I think Chuck Clark gets put in some rough situations. I also think Darius Slay has shown he can be a fine outside zone corner, but when he's asked to run man, he has been barbecue chicken. And so if I'm the Steelers, I am right now on the phones, and I brought this up, I think, on our Tuesday episode. I'm working the phones for guys like Reek Woolen, guys like Roger McCreary, outside cornerbacks on teams in the last year of their rookie contract, where I'd say, hey, can we flip this for a 4th or a 5th round pick and just get this guy in here? And then say, hey, man, your job is, when we want to run man, we're going to tell you who to guard. You guard that guy, and you take him out the picture, and you at least just be physical. That's where I think the Steelers could do it. Or if they went and got a free safety that can say, hey, I'm going to just manage the back end, because despite Micah Fitzpatrick, getting ripped on a lot last year, he was the guy who no one threw deep again when he was back there on the sports information system charted on the year when he was targeted on passes that would travel 20 yards or further downfield. Quarterbacks were 0 for 4. They did not complete deep balls when he was the guy back there. So, and I think the Steelers are still doing a decent job at limiting that over the top, but they still have to find a way to be more cohesive. And I think that that's something that they're missing right now. And it's causing guys to jump out of their roles, trying to help out because they're worried about other guys not being able to hold up. And I think that's a big problem for the Steelers defense right now, is you see guys playing a little too much hero ball and not enough commit to your one role type of ball.
Wayne, how desperate are the Steelers to bolster that secondary?
Yeah, I think it's a continuity problem, especially when you talk about, as Chris just mentioned, Slay, Ramsey, Porter, they're really outside corners. Their issue becomes when they get in and they put Ramsey in the slot, and it just seems like a spacing issue. Somebody's overcompensating, trying to ride someone too far, and now you voided a certain part of the field, and they're not able to morph into the bright spacing. And it's just right now it's hurting them. They're doing a good job as keeping things from over the top. They're doing a terrible job coming up, making tackles. They're making some hits. They're not doing a good job tackling, for the most part. And I just feel like throughout this first handful of games, when Ramsey is asked to play in that slot, it's just an issue of spacing for him because long in the tooth, and it's a different route, it's a different mentality. That guy is just a guy that typically they use. That slot receiver is someone who just knows how to get open. It's not always a route. It's just a read, and being able to find that open space, and the ball comes a little quicker. But it's a thing. Hopefully, it'll get tested again this week with Jordan Love and his receiving core.
We lost Ben for a moment. His system was freezing, so I gave him a little communication. Hey, if you want to restart, feel free. So hopefully Ben will make it back on the show here momentarily. Chris, when you look at the secondary, though, are you worried after seeing what happened against Cincinnati? Granted, Green Bay doesn't have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's a dynamic duo you're throwing to in Cincinnati, but they got shredded. That secondary got shredded. How do you bounce back confidence-wise when you're facing a gauntlet of a schedule here the next few weeks?
I think it's less confidence and more about locking in on your assignments and making sure that you're winning those, especially at the starting point. But this is a pass defense that doesn't need to cover for 8 to 9 seconds. They need to cover for 4 seconds. They need to just take away the initial parts, and the pass rush will get home. And I know some people are saying, well, the pass rush didn't get home last week. It's because they were mostly getting the ball out pretty quick. You go back to that 34-yard pass to Iyoshibash where he beat Darius Slay. He beat Darius Slay with the first step of his route. That's the stuff that can't happen. And here's the thing. You go back to that play, watch the all 22, and when you look back and see what happened on that play, TJ Watt was a step. He was right about to hit Joe Flacco right as the ball's coming out, and it's a 34-yard gain to the team's third wide receiver. Those are things that cannot happen when you're this Steelers defense and you want to be an aggressive unit. And that's been the problem, is that they've lost those types of matchups. So if you're the Steelers defense, you go into this and you say, we have to win those types of matchups. We cannot be out of position right away. We have to give our pass rush time to get to work, because you think the Bengals were good last week. Listen, their receivers are definitely better than the Packers receivers, but Christian Watson's set to come back this week. That's something to watch out for. And this Packers offense has the number 1 third down offense in the NFL. They convert at 49.3%, almost 50% of third downs. They are converting right now. And on third and long, which is 7 or longer, they're also number 1 in that. They're converting third and long 43.8% of the time. That's best in the NFL. The Steelers on third and long defense, they're 18th right now, allowing 24.5%. They need to be sharper there. They need to be better there. This is also an offense for the Packers that loves the explosive plays. They love to get the pass off. They love to get things going there. You cannot allow that to be a factor in this game. You have to make them earn everything, and also get after Jordan Love. His main problems is when he's under pressure, and that's when he starts to crumble and make big mistakes. You do those things, you start to get control of this game. But if you allow Josh Jacobs to get going as a running back, and he's a very talented back, and they know this, they faced him several times before, and if you don't get pressure, you are asking the back end of this defense to fix a lot in ways that I think would pressure them too much right now. Let the defensive front that you have invested in to make one of the best defensive fronts in football get to work. That's going to be the key in this game.
We will be discussing more keys later on during the second half hour of this Wednesday night edition of the Steelers Squad Show. When we come back, more insights. Also, we'll hit up Wayne's World. What is Wayne thinking about this Sunday night football game between the Steelers and Packers? That's next right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs. With features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance, you can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So, let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All righty, back here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Wayne Gandy, Christopher Carter. Look who's back, Ben Bobick. Welcome back, Double B. Happy to have you.
Yeah, the hamster stopped spinning on the wheel for whatever reason during this of all hours of the day. It was the 8 o'clock hour.
Dang, SC not top 10. All right, second Sunday night football game for the Packers in Pittsburgh. Have to go back to week 12 in 2017, the last time and the only other time these two teams met in Pittsburgh on Sunday night. We do need to head to Wayne's World because the Steelers will be rocking a unique look. 1933 throwback jerseys. Let's check this out from the Steelers X account. Freiermuth rocking the 88. The yellow helmet, the black stripes. What do we think, guys? Wayne, what are you thinking here? What's going through your mind when you see this unique look?
The uniform is so distracting. I can't concentrate on whether he caught the ball or got the first down. It's almost like the blue turf in Boise or When you go to Baton Rouge and they got 5, 10, 15, 20, all the numbers on the field, I don't understand. And Chris and you guys are from the Berg. I was only part of the family for a short while. Isn't the uniform that they wear throwback? Isn't the black and gold? Isn't that really? That's the only really Steelers people know, the black jersey.
Wayne, I just want you to know that once family, always family. So you're part of the family forever.
That all around, but the Bumblebee a couple years ago, and now this Wolverine. And what's with the helmet? I don't know. Where's the signature? Explain why there's not 2 logos on the helmet. You know how many times I've had to explain that people really half the time they don't even recognize that it's only one. And then, they'll come and they may see mine, or they'll finally look at it and be like, what happened? And I get to go into the old story about how they didn't send enough decals. But come on, guys. The Chargers last week was enough.
I love this.
Some of these uniforms to watch on television, it might be great in person, but on TV, it does kind of throw you off.
Wayne, I love this get off my lawn energy, because that was a prior segment on this show, but we'll welcome it back. We'll welcome it back for this jersey. I don't know. It's definitely better than the Bumblebee look. It's still out there, and I think what makes the Steelers such a unique organization is the classic black and yellow, the simplicity. Chris, what do you make of what the Steelers will be rocking in front of a national audience?
Trash. Straight up. Like, I'm sorry. Listen, here's the thing. To answer Wayne's question, yes, the Steelers have classic black uniforms, and the last throwback was the block letters, the Michelin Ness style.
Nice, like those.
That to me is the ultimate Steelers uniform. That should be their normal uniforms 100% all the time. And the thing is that if you go with that, think of the uniform sales. The whole point of these is to promote more uniform sales, NFL wide, right? And to me, the throwback that they really should do is going back to the late 60s, early 70s. They have an all-white uniform set where it's a yellow helmet, much like this one, but with a white jersey, white pants with a gold stripe. That is cold. Like that, you look at that, you look at those, that would work, do numbers. But the problem is that white jersey is just the current away jersey. And so like they're sitting here thinking like, listen, we got to do something different. We got to do something radical. So let's go get the stuff that no one remembers. And someone in Pittsburgh will say, that's fire. I love that, because Pittsburghers convinced themselves the Bumblebees looked amazing. They did not. And don't tell me, Mr. Viewer that's looking on YouTube right now, oh, I love the Bumblebee jersey. You fell for it. You bought it hook, line, and sinker. It's a stupid uniform. It was stupid when they released it in 2012, 13, whatever they did. It's stupid now. And listen, I'm going off because I think that the Steelers, they have one thing I appreciate about Penn State, your classic uniforms. Stop going back out and trying to do all this Oregon stuff. You're not that. Go and be your classic selves. Bring the block letters back. Keep the yellow end zones. Do the old school things. That's what the Steelers way should be about. But hey, they got to sell jerseys. The helmets I think are fine. These jerseys, I never thought about Wolverine, Wayne. That's actually pretty good. I kind of want to go start making the Wolverine when he's looking at his picture memes and like looking back at things. And the thing is, though, it'll be just going back to the block numbers in the picture that he's looking at.
The Bumblebee jersey, I guess, had a little sting, a little bit. Okay, not a ton. It wasn't really visually that pleasant. When I hear Wolverine, though, I think of Michigan, and as a Penn State man, that I get sent into a different dimension. Ben, what are your thoughts on this 33 throwback look? You got the city emblem there.
Yeah, I remember when they came out. And I'm
like
just
they're on top of the jersey.
Yeah.
Every jersey has the numbers on top. The numbers on top of every jersey. Come on.
I remember when this came out, staring at it, just trying to convince myself it looked good. Like, all right, let's look at this. Like, that's not bad. Then it's just all came back around to the thing. It all came way back around. Like, nah, these are just bad. They are what they are. The helmets aren't that bad, though. I will say that. I mean, it's cool to see the gold helmets and that, but like, it's if anything, it's better than the first time they tried to do these jerseys in the 90s. That's not saying much, but it's bad. I'm with Chris, man. Block, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Block numbers, bring them back. Yellow end zones, bring them back. Just give the people what they want. It's so simple.
The only other throwbacks, the 2007 black jersey gold numbers, I thought that also worked. That was a cool jersey to have. They could have just brought that back. That would have done numbers.
Yeah, but it's been done before, Chris. It's been done before. You can't do it again. It's not allowed.
When you think about this, when they try to because they're honoring the 1933 team or what it is. What uniform in any NFL team that tried to honor like their very first team ever looked good? I mean, the Packers had one. It looked terrible. I mean, what team tried to emulate? Trying to emulate a team like a uniform from the 30s or 40s ever looked good.
The style in the 30s and the 40s, beautiful, memorable, stand outish, much like these 33 throwbacks. And the Steelers will be rocking them on Sunday Night Football on NBC, a Super Bowl 45 rematch. Again, I said this earlier, but Rodgers and the Packers beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 45 back in 2011, 31-25. Including Super Bowl 45, Green Bay has scored 27-plus points in 5 of the last 6 matchups against Pittsburgh. The over-under is 44.5. Will the Steelers' defense be able to stop Jordan Love in this Packers offense? Chris, I'll go to you first. I'm a little bit concerned after what happened last Thursday.
Reasonably so. The defense did not play well, and they're facing one of the top offenses in the NFL. They have to clean things up. I do think it's interesting, as you brought up before, that the Packers have never won in Pittsburgh since 1970, which is when Three Rivers Stadium started. So, it's been a minute. And so sometimes you push you push history, right? Like sometimes it's going, eventually that streak will end, and maybe that'll be Sunday night. But I look at the Steelers and in the place that they're in right now. They're in a crossroads where they're in first in the division. They're still in the driver's seat and they control their own destiny. But if they can win this game, they can get back to being, okay, we're 5-2. You're playing a really good Colts team the week after that's given you problems the last couple of years. This is their chance to get it right. And they've done well against this Packers team. They beat Jordan Love with Kenny Pickett a couple years ago. Let's remind ourselves of that. And there was no Minka Fitzpatrick in that game. They were struggling all sorts up and down, but they still found a way to win. That's something that most Steelers teams in the Mike Tomlin era, when everything else is going wrong, when your offensive line's playing poorly, they're playing well right now. When you have one facet of your team that's just really hurting you, and right now I think it's that pass defense, and I guess the run defense too with it is it overall right now, but it's been inconsistent. You find ways to limit an opponent in a way that puts you back in control of this game, and to me, that's about making this game about TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith getting after Jordan Love, putting pressure on him so that the receivers aren't as big of a factor in this game. And then all of a sudden, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Jalen Ramsey, all the guys that are playing off the ball, then they're at an advantage. They're catching you kind of hurriedly trying to get this pass off rhythm. That's what the Steelers have to get into this game. If they don't, they're asking themselves to have to clear a lot. I think the Steelers offense will do fine. I think the biggest question is going to be about this defense. Can they get stops consistently? And the other part of this is, can the Steelers offense possess the football? The Steelers right now, 29th in time of possession in the NFL. That cannot stand moving forward.
Wayne, the Packers only have one loss this season, and it happened in Cleveland, led by a Browns team who had Joe Flacco at quarterback. It was a 13-10 win for the Browns over the Packers. Does that give you some confidence that maybe the Steelers team will fare A-OK on their home field against this Green Bay team?
No, that was just the Green Bay Packers underestimating and forgetting that the Browns get a check as well. When you watch that game, it's a human condition, and I wish I could tell you it goes away. But you start talking about how that team was performing beforehand. And then you start looking and trying to, as a professional, find a game where you're not going to have to go 100%. And next thing you know, the team is big on the scoreboard, beating you. I expect that the Packers are going to come in here that same vinegar that Aaron Rodgers has for them, they're going to have to try to beat him as well. The big question, did the Steelers address, as Chris is talking about, not just those getting pressure on Jordan Love, the two things that cannot happen when you talk about defense, they can't be able to run and throw. The Bengals were able to run the ball and throw the ball the last time the Steelers played, and that's the issue. One of them has to go. So either you're going to take Josh Jacobs out of the game and roll the dice on the pass, or vice versa. But you can't let them sit there, Joe Flacco, for 300-some yards, and then they run as a team for about 142. I think his name was Brown, Chase Brown or something like that, goes over 100. You can't give up both in a game. So can the run defense, because you feel like they're going to be able to make some pass. But we got to take Josh Jacobs in that run game, and I think that's why the Cardinals gave themselves a chance the other day. They were able to limit them to about 70 yards rushing as a team, something like that. Held Josh Jacobs to like 60 yards. So has that defensive front, the defensive line, that front seven, how have they fixed that? They got to come with a better temperament to stop the run game.
The Browns held Josh Jacobs to 30 rushing yards on 16 rushes in that 13-10 win back in week 3. We will talk more about that defensive line pressure and have our a little bit way too early expert predictions when we come back right here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Yes, the NFL season is here, and honestly, there is nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by the fans, cheering on the Steelers. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It can be pretty frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is really the price you pay. I pulled up Gametime and in just a couple taps saw amazing deals. I'm talking about the Steelers as low as $100, and the app makes it super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before I buy. I love zone deals too. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever purchased tickets. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, welcome back to the Steelers Squad Show. And there it is. That's the jersey that Chris was referencing. Those are sweet. The all black with the gold numerals. That's a good look.
Just want to let Chris know I still had mine.
And
that's good.
And it's still a good look. Even after you dropped the jersey, we had to see your face. Still really good look, Wayne. Steelers, Packers, Acrisure Stadium, 8:20 Eastern on NBC. Packers favored by 3.5. The over-under, 44.5. Right before we went to break, Wayne brought up a great point. How will the rush defense look against these Packers? The Browns, when they got the win, they held this Packers team in check. Josh Jacobs averaging less than 2 yards a rush in that loss. Can the Steelers replicate that? It seems like that front seven has the ability to, but will they, Chris?
I think they can, but they've got to be on their P's and Q's up front. They got to know which ways the Packers are trying to chip TJ Watt. They know that's a big part of it, and they got to get their attack right. I think one thing that the Steelers messed up and I talked about this with Mike DeFabo on our Wednesday episode, is I think that I understood Mike Tomlin when he answered my question about Nick Herbig and how like the running game kind of prevented them from getting into a lot of their sets throughout the game. But in that last drive, when you knew the Bengals had to throw the ball to get the ball down the field, you needed Nick Herbig on the field, and he wasn't. And I think that's where this team has to get to. They have to get to points where they're forcing that third and long. And yes, that's the best third and long offense in the NFL right now. But get it so all three of your top edge rushers are on the field. You're moving around. You're causing chaos, because when Jordan Love is under pressure, he's in trouble. Now, against the blitz, he does recognize the blitz well. He's a smart quarterback. He will get the ball out and attack where you're not. But if you're able to win with four-man rushes and the occasional like fifth man coming in, you're going to cause problems for this Packers offense and disrupt their rhythm. But you've got to set it up. It's got to be set up by stuffing the run early. You got to be on your gaps. I think Cam Hayward's been pretty consistent at that. He had 6 pressures last week still. But you need the Keanu Bentons, the Derek Harmons, the Y.A. Blacks. So I think he had a rough game when I look back at the film and him a little bit more. And I think also get Dan Aquale out there more. He's a veteran who's been pretty solid for them when out there. He didn't play a whole lot of snaps last week. Get guys out there that are going to stuff the run, do the dirty work, and keep the running games closed, running lanes closed. You do that, you got to put yourself in a better position to win consistently throughout the night, and then you can pin your ears back, get more predictable passing situations, and prey on where the Packers are trying to attack. Because again, when you get Jordan Love under pressure, he gets rattled, he makes mistakes, and that's when you start playing your style of football. I think one thing that's going to be a rubber meets the road type of thing in this game, the Steelers average creating 1.67 turnovers per game. That's third best in the NFL, but the Packers average giving up half a turnover per game. That's also third best in the NFL. Who wins that matchup may determine who wins this game.
The Packers and Steelers have the second and third best winning percentages in the NFL in the free agency era, dating back to 1993, trailing only the New England Patriots. 7 of the last 8 games between these two teams in Pittsburgh have been decided by single digits. Wayne, do you see a single-digit victory at Acrisure Stadium Sunday night? And if you do, why, who, and why? And then what score prediction do you see shaking out?
Well, I feel first and foremost, the Steelers have to pull out that Myles Garrett package. You can't let Michael Parsons come into your house and get 3 or 4 sacks and hound Aaron Rodgers all night long. You have to take that same approach. You just had it 2 weeks ago where somebody might beat us. And, they got capable guys like a Quay Walker over there. But Michael Parsons has to be taken out of this game. Now, the 2 tackles, Jones, Fatanu, I believe they match up a little better against Michael Parsons because that's what they get in practice. With the TJ Watts and the Highsmith, those are the kind of linebacker, Parsons is more a linebacker rusher than he is a full DN. But I feel like offensively, you're going to have to make sure that backs and tight ends in passing down situations are not blocking Michael Parsons. That's just not the scheme you're going to run this week, and be able to fade him out of this game as you did with someone like a Myles Garrett. I do see a close victory for the Steelers, and I'm only pulling because they're at home. So I feel like at home with what you had to feel for the last 10, 11 days as professionals and as guys, you got Hall of Famers over there on the defense. Things are going to get fixed, and guys are going to want to ball out come Sunday night. And that's what I'm going. I'm not saying that Green Bay is not maybe the better team, but I do feel like sometimes you have to remember when the team who just lost. You're going to get their best effort. To live in a place like Pittsburgh, play for that team. Anything I did wrong one Sunday, I just wanted to sleep to the next Sunday. I didn't even want another game plan. I just wanted to get back on the field and correct. That's just that kind of Steeler feeling that you have. So I'm looking for something in the range of 24-23 in this game. Steelers just eking it out by 1 point there.
Wayne, just one correction there. That's former Penn State Nittany Lion Micah Parsons. Just one quick correction.
Great locker room guy at Penn State, by the way.
It's been that kind of show. It's been that kind of show. Ben, you were correct last week picking the Bengals to win on their home field against the Steelers on a Thursday night. Do you correct yourself for Steelers Nation, or do you lean into a back-to-back Steelers losses type of category? I don't know if your mother would appreciate that.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people in the Berg would, to be quite honest with you, man. I am right. I got a little bit of a hot hand right now because I did shut out Evan McPherson too, Fort Payne, Alabama. So that was the cherry on top. So that's how you know you're running hot. But the Steelers going to have to stop the run, man. They just have to. If you just look at it like through a simple eye last Thursday, They let Chase Brown run on them, and then they didn't get much pressure on Joe Flacco. Granted, that was a tip of the cap to Joe Flacco and how quickly he was getting out the ball. But the Steelers are at their best when they're doing both. I mean, amongst other things, but if you just look at it simply, just the simple why, when they're stopping the run and they're getting after the quarterback, the Steelers are at their best. It worries me because the Packers appear to be a complete team. I think Chris mentioned it earlier in the show. They are as balanced as you get offense and defense. And it's a reason that they've been such a good franchise for decades. And it's going to be a tough one. I trust. It's crazy to think. I never thought I'd be saying this. I trust the Steelers offense to move the ball and get points. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I think the offense will hold their own and do what they have to do, but the defense needs to come up big. And I think how the defense comes up big is by stopping the run and getting pressure, but also got to create a turnover or two. If we're sticking with the simple route, I mean, the Bengals won the turnover battle last Thursday. They won the game. And then that's what it comes down to. The Steelers are at their best also when they're creating some turnovers, getting the ball and putting their offense in good field position. I just think the Packers are a complete team, man. And it's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be close, but I do see the Packers pulling this one out, 31-27. I just think the Steelers make it close a little bit at the end, but the Packers just salt the game away. I just think Green Bay is a complete team. They're playing as good a football as anybody, and it's going to be a good test for the Steelers. Though we're going to learn a lot about this football team on Sunday. But I do feel good about the Steelers being at home and with a Sunday night crowd. I just think the Packers are a complete team, and I do think they win it 31-27.
Green Bay 20-17 all time against the Steelers. That includes the postseason. I believe they'll be 21-17 come Sunday night. I also see the Packers winning. This is just one of those stretches for Pittsburgh where it is a gauntlet. And this Steelers team is good, and they've gotten better. Offensively, I have all the trust in the world that Aaron Rodgers and that offense will keep the ball moving, score points. But when it comes to that defense in the secondary, I maybe see myself watching the Steelers secondary making small improvements, but I'm not sure they're talented enough or gifted enough to stop Green Bay's offense. And that worries me. So I'm going with the Packers in this one. I do hope that the field gets a win. I'd like to see the grass maintained for all 4 quarters. If I had to put money on the grass lasting all 4 quarters, I don't know if I would. So that's also a concern of mine. You'd like to think that it looks crisp and green, but that's just not how it works unless you're painting it. So I think it's a back-to-back losses for the Steelers, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board come Sunday night, Monday morning. Any final thoughts on this show here tonight as the Steelers taking on the Packers in Pittsburgh Sunday night?
I guess if I'm going to do so, I think that the Steelers are in a position where they can assert that one game does not dictate the pace of where everything goes. One thing that Terrell Austin said to me back during the training camp that he said was very important was that he didn't want snowballs to turn into avalanches. He didn't want one game to turn into several bad games, because that's what happened towards the end of the season last year. They let one bad loss to the Eagles then snowball into a bad loss against the Ravens, and a bad loss against the Chiefs, and a bad loss against the Bengals. Then you lost 4 straight, and you're playing the Ravens in their house. This is a chance for them to say, hey, the buck stops here. We're not letting this happen. And they did that against the Seahawks, because remember, they lost to the Seahawks. They played what I think now everyone recognizes is a very good Patriots team, and they beat them in their house. And so I think that's what the Steelers have to do in this game. They beat another team that has a guy that some people are saying Drake May should be in MVP conversations with how well he's playing for New England. Now you got to beat a team that's in Super Bowl conversations in Green Bay. The difference is now you get to do it in your house. You're doing it coming off of a longer break because you had a short week the week before. Show the world that you're still a contender. I still think that the Steelers team is not a Super Bowl contender. I think this is a team that can maybe win the division, make the playoffs, maybe if they get the right matchup in the first round, they can win that. And if they can catch somebody slipping in the division round, they can get to the conference championship game. But that's a lot of ifs. But if you want to even get to that stage, you got to do it right now. And so defense, be accountable. Take on roles. Be more specific and be more detailed in your work, because there's times you see guys like running for you, like Darius Slay can't get beat on the first step off the ball. You can't let the run game get through on you guys. You can't let emotion lead to Jamar Chase running open like he did at the end of the game there. If you can do those things, I think that this team can play at the pace that can beat a team like the Packers. I think the Packers are a team that is still also finding out who they are. And so that might be something that you can get to your advantage on a home primetime game somewhere where the Steelers historically, especially under Mike Tomlin, have done very well. So I think that's the thing the Steelers have to do. If they can do that this week, they'll be in a good position.
All great points. My only pushback there is the Steelers beat the Patriots in week 3, much like the Packers lost to the Browns in week 3. As Wayne has said time and time again, that point of the season still kind of working through some things. So we'll see if the Steelers go back to those ways and beating a good Patriots team against the Packers. I think I forgot to give a score. I'm saying Packers 34, Steelers 27. A reminder, you can listen to the audio of tonight's show on the Locked On Steelers podcast channel, wherever and however you podcast. And Steelers Nation, do us a favor, like, subscribe. That helps all of us out. That'll do it, though, for this Wednesday night Green Bay Packers Sunday Night Football preview edition of the Locked On Steelers podcast squad show on the podcast network. We'll work through that up until Sunday. Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobick, Christopher Carter, I'm Tyler Feldman saying good night, and here we go. We'll see you late Sunday night right after the game.